Well, welcome everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Corridor Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Strouth, President and CEO of the Iowa Lakes Corridor Economic Development Corporation, and we're shooting live in downtown Spencer at our Spencer Collab space, all the way up on the third floor of downtown Spencer. So it's a great space to come at you live today. And again, the purpose of our podcast is we look to highlight our local, our state, and our regional initiatives and our partnerships and the collaborations that all go in behind the scenes to make economic development happen here in our four-county region. And today I'm extremely excited to welcome the Director of Iowa Economic Development Authority and her team, Debi Durham, to our awesome podcast studio. And you know, as we kind of kick things off, when you arrived today, we kind of joked, kind of blew your way up here. It was so windy and blustery out there today.
It was blustery today, and this is such a cozy studio right here in this little nook. And by the way, this chai latte is amazing. So Medler, thank you so much. I actually try a chai latte in every community I go to across the state. It is like my one, if you will, vice, and this is one of the best.
Well,
so congratulations.
Yeah, I know Carrie and Heather Belgrave, you know, the owners of Medler, big sponsors of our podcast too, and big supporters of ours. So we'll just go without saying that you try all these chai lattes across the state of Iowa. We'll just assume that Medler coffee is
one of the best.
One of the best across the state of Iowa.
No, I can say that without hesitation. In fact, I love their shop, and you know, it's interesting because I have shopped my way across Iowa.
Yeah.
So I have all these, if you will, souvenirs. I have the most gorgeous blanket on my sofa in the family room for that place as well. So see, yes, I love shopping Spencer. By the way.
Well, and you got roots up here in Northwest Iowa too. You can probably speak to a little bit from your time in Sioux City and Spencer, and
Oh, absolutely. You know, I still live in Sioux City, and it's home, and I go home every weekend, and love spending time up here at the lakes. And so obviously always make that tour. In fact, usually every Christmas my daughter and I do our Christmas shopping in Spencer. This year, unfortunately, it didn't happen, but I'll be back next year.
You'll be back. There's
God willing.
Plenty of opportunities.
There's plenty of opportunities.
No, absolutely. So again, thank you for coming out. And what we typically like to do is just to kind of kick things off and to give a huge shout out again to our sponsor, Medler Coffee. We like to break the ice a little bit and just kind of settle things in here a little bit before we kind of get into it.
Break the ice?
I don't know. You and I probably don't, but maybe for our listeners, maybe a little bit better idea of all of the work we do. And these are just a kind of couple quick questions to kind of move into things. And you know, what's one thing we're going to be talking about economic development a little bit and somewhat the collaboration between state, local, and regional economic development looks like. What's one thing that people might be surprised to learn about when it comes to economic development? Because we talk about what does that mean, and there's a million different definitions of what economic development is and how we work it. But from a state level perspective, as a director of the state in economic development, what does that look like to you, Debi?
Well, and I can tell you because I start every presentation with really level setting on that, and it surprises many people in the audience because it really is not just about traditional economic development, which is all about certified sites and workforce and business climate and regulatory and all those things that you would expect, transportation, grid, sewer, and water even. It really is about building communities in which people want to live, because Iowa's biggest challenge today is the same when I started 2011, is we have a population problem, right? And so companies are not going to continue to invest in our backyard, or new companies are not going to come in if they don't believe that you have communities in which people live. But at the end of the day, I'm not a developer that believes all development's good development. I'm really looking for, and if you look at the way our incentives are set up at IEDA, we're looking for those jobs that raise the standard of living for Iowans, right? And so that is our philosophy, and that's the model, the business model we've been paying through 2011. And even in difficult times, cycles like 23 and 24, because where ag was, I was still, at the end of the day, when the final accounting was done, we did very well and really outpacing all of our neighboring states. So I think that makes us proud.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's great, and you're 100% right, and I agree with all of the capital investment side. And we talk about, too, just making sure we take care of what's in our backyard, right? And we talk about that stat of 80% of community growth coming from those companies existing and that are within. And we pride ourselves on that messaging too, and understanding that it takes workforce to continue to grow and expand. And we'll kind of get into some of what that data looks like here in a little bit. But appreciate your insight on that.
In fact, I have a little gift for you.
Oh, I love gifts.
So, you know, I'm all about data.
Yeah.
And so I had them pool all the projects that we have done together in your
Nah.
entire region, from everything from quality of life to workforce to manufacturing 4.0.
Yep.
And let me just say, we've been great partners.
That's
So here's
great.
for you,
That is no
Kurt.
surprise to me,
So
Debbie. Well, thanks for sharing that. We
yeah,
look forward to looking
yeah,
through that. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, the last couple of years have been outstanding, and it's been a little bit,
yeah,
a little bit turbulence in there too with some of the
yes.
disaster relief.
Oh
But
yeah.
what we've always appreciated with the state is how readily, and the Governor Reynolds too,
Mhm.
how we're actively lifting up programs at a relatively quick pace to be able to respond, whether that's housing or high quality jobs
Mhm.
program to help facilitate equipment replacement for our companies.
Absolutely. Well, I have to tell you, we always do these all staff meetings at end of the year review. And, there's a lot to celebrate. And, if I look past at my career, I have been in the room with, world leaders,
Hmm.
in intimate settings and negotiated with titans of industry and tech. But the thing I'm going to remember most when I exit, in 27 with Governor Reynolds is the thing that means the most to me is that we showed up when people were most vulnerable, and it is during those disasters. And to be able to be there, boots on the ground when it happens, and to be there through the whole rebuilding, and then to come back and see where it is, it to me, it's the most rewarding work that we do.
Right.
And yeah, to be your partner in that, and you guys have done extremely well at Northwest Iowa for everything you went through. It was
Yeah.
devastating.
Well, and again, it goes back to that collaborative piece, and there's no playbook to disasters.
No, there is not.
I mean, you respond relatively quickly. I'll never forget. Our office is based in Spencer, and the flood impacted a wide area of our community. But I remember getting a text from Steve Pick at Spencer Municipal Utilities
Yeah.
on that Saturday, and says, "Hey, Kurt, just a heads up, your office is flooded." And that was the first thing that triggered to me. It's like, okay, we got something on our hands that now it's full go. You collaborate, you get your partners in place from local
Correct.
and regional and state, and you move.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's going to, no playbook that's going to guide you through that.
Hmm.
And you look back on it now, and you just see how that came together. And
Well,
yeah,
Governor Reynolds, I mean, honestly, has always been such a strong leader in that time, whether it was COVID or disasters, because she's literally here moments when it happens, right? She
yeah,
takes a small team and then she brings the rest of us in. And then we would have, and I don't even know if you all knew that, and we would have every weekly meetings, during the intense part, every time. And she would challenge us to do new things, to look at funding differently. And it was, and then she would hold us all accountable,
yeah.
about being back here as frequently as possible. And her leadership during, again, through COVID or any of the natural disasters that we've had to weather during this administration, I don't think anyone could fault her or criticize her for the level of leadership she provided during that.
No, especially for those who are boots on the ground and see it firsthand, right?
Oh,
You're hearing what
absolutely.
the needs are directly from businesses
Yeah.
or those that were displaced from their
Mhm.
homes. We understand that displacement piece, and you respond quickly. And I remember the housing piece of it, the disaster housing, uplifted within 2 weeks
Oh,
of the natural
crazy.
disaster, and we're
Crazy.
talking millions of dollars
Yeah,
available for our
yeah.
communities that were displaced for housing that we could rapidly get in there.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It was nuts, and I have to give my team credit because they were all hands on deck and they understand. And you're right, but and it's the same thing during COVID. I mean, look at the
you're
small
right,
business assistance we got. It was,
correct.
I mean, when it was all said and done, I think we started with $4 million. If you can imagine how naive we were, I think it ended with almost 90 million. Right,
Yeah.
of what we got out the door very, very quickly. And to this day, even I was in Fairfield not too long ago, and there was a Main Street business woman who wanted me to see the new lines that she offered during that, and was just telling us the difference between us getting that money in her hands so quickly was the difference of her still having a business
Oh
today.
yeah.
I mean, again, incredibly
Hmm.
gratifying, and not a lot of money at the end of the day. It was
Right.
just, I think, if anything else, it was this bridge of hope,
Yep.
right? That you're there, that
Right.
just someone's answering the phone
Hmm.
and they're empathetic, and we're willing to do absolutely what we can to meet your needs where you are.
Right.
So
And you say a key word there too, because I think when you're going through a disaster piece of it, I mean, I think businesses and people are just looking for hope. Like
that's right.
they're in a crisis. Like, how do we get out of this? They know it's not going to be overnight, but if you can provide some sort of a hope, whether that's through funding of a small business loan or a
Mm-hmm.
grant or some sort of, just something to kind of give them
Mm-hmm.
guidance. And I think
Yeah.
going through that, we all learn a lot. We hope we never have to do it again, but there's comfort in knowing that there's the resources and the partnerships available that we know we're going to readily.
Well, and if you even think about Sioux Rapids, I mean, talk about being devastated, right? But Ramco, we were able to get him a manufacturing 4.0, a large one, very quickly, and then to go back and see that new equipment. I mean, he's building back better and stronger, and a stronger commitment to the community. So yeah, so many great stories.
Glad you brought that up because Nate Widmack, who he currently serves as our board chair from Renko.
Oh, he does.
He does. Great guy. You know Nate, and I remember, and Joanne Fallon and our team were very upfront, and thanks again for your leadership. And they had that one large piece of equipment that was damaged due to the flood, and get them a $500,000 grant through that program to be able to get that in there. And again, that's the hope side of it, right? Provides their employees stability and their ownership group to make sure that as one of the largest employers in Sioux Rapids, the heart blood of that community, that they're able to stay stabilized.
Give me my regards. I've not seen him for a while. But
we will.
He was so, and their company was so great to work with. I have to say, just first class. So.
We love to hear that. So, well, I want to transition a little bit just for the listeners, because we get to our team, gets to work with the IEDA team or the Iowa Economic Development Authority, and you guys got great leadership from Ann McMahon and Amber Rogers over the time, and so it's great working with your teams. You guys have great representation for us up here in Northwest Iowa. But just for the listeners, maybe talk about Iowa Economic Development and from the core, what you guys all do, and how you support us up here in Northwest Iowa.
So when you think about with reorganization of government a few years ago, it seems like a few weeks.
It does, yes.
Yeah, doesn't it? Where we went from 37 directors to 16. So now everything, and that's when we got SHPO and the arts and culture under our umbrella as well. Everything that touches that community or economic development that we talked about is now located at IEDA. So we're able to deploy resources in a much more strategic and transformational way. There's no doubt. But our philosophy is very simple because, I sat where you sitting now, right? I've been at a local regional organization. And I have to tell you, in all my years interfacing with IEDA, I never saw a director. If we had to go there to see them, right? And I said, we're going to change that because, first of all, when a project comes to a state new, let's say, the state's incentives are the state's incentives. We don't care where it goes. It's the locals that really win and lose deals, right? Because that's where they want to be called. They want to call home.
Right.
So I looked at our team, and Anna's great at. In fact, I think she's going to even come back here for your, next regional meeting. Yeah. But when my philosophy is that we're an extension of your office, right? We're here to make sure you're successful. Yep. And so it's a totally different philosophy. And when that means even when you call us and say, look, we need help, and it doesn't fit in this little box that government likes to put things in, luckily the legislature trusts us so much that they give us an incredible amount of flexibility within our, guidelines, of course, right? But it's rare that we can't find a way to make something work, to get to yes. And I think that's the other thing. When I came in, we are not the Department of No. We are the Department of finding a path forward, right? Again, making sure, and we run highest of integrity, making sure we dot the I's and cross the T's and do what the guidelines. But that's how I think we look at it. It really is that we're here to help you. Right. And that's a completely a total paradigm shift of the way IEDA used to work historically. And I hope whoever the next director is continues to carry that forward.
Right. Yeah. And, you and I came into this, when you became directors, has it been about 11 years now?
No, it'll be 16 when I'm done.
16 when you're done with IEDA.
Yeah.
16. Yeah. So I cracked into the economic development profession back in 14. So you're the only director I know. So all that before you talk about, I don't know anything about that. Yeah. And so when we transitioned into a new director, it's, I think, the thought across the state of Iowa with developers is we need to get another Debi in there that understands what we need at a local level because it truly is, it's a big deal from a state perspective. And we're all really working on the same things from workforce to housing, the population problem, and making sure that we're addressing that. But we need somebody at the state level, such as your leadership, to make sure that we're continuing to
Well, and my advice to the next governor is going to be find someone from the industry, right? And that's a professional. And I think, when I came in with Governor Branstad, he had these big goals, and I remember one of them was completely reorganizing the organization. But my first thing was him to say, okay, here's the deal. You're not going to tell me who to hire. We're not hiring anyone on the campaign trail. I'm going to run this not political. I'm not going to attend any political events. We're going to run this because what we do is not partisan and it's not political.
Mm-hmm.
And I will only bring in professionals in the organization. And they honored that. And so we didn't get any political hacks, or any promises that were made on campaign trails. They didn't come to IEDA. So you have professionals. And honestly, whoever comes in would be foolish to dismantle the team, because I'm telling you, they're amazing, as you even said when you talked about Ann and Amber, because they're professionals, right? And I don't care what party you come from. We don't. That's obviously we don't talk about that, because you're there to do a job, and I think that's also why we've been able to deliver at the at the level we have for all of these years, because we've got seasoned professionals, and I hope the next governor does the same thing. Whoever sits in this seat,
right? Confident of that, and that's good. And organizations throughout the state of Iowa to help push that message. The Professional Developers of Iowa, which I get the privilege to serve on the board along with Amber. Great organization, but I feel like we're aligned in a lot of what we're doing from a visionary standpoint there. And IEDA obviously is supportive of that organization too, from a mission, but also a legislative priority standpoint too, as we kind of gear up for that here. For Q1 of 2026. So,
well, we couldn't have done our new incentive program without you. I mean, you guys were there from the beginning. A lot of people had to take time because, the way it was rolled out, unfortunately, was so late in the session, because at one time we thought it was a governor's bill, and then it ended up being our bill right before session. That changes things, right? But you guys were there from the beginning, and on so many things. I mean, we really do work so collaborative together.
Yep, that's great. So no, appreciate the overview on kind of what IEDA looks like and how we kind of collaborate at the local level. But as far as getting into economic development readiness, we do that across the state from a community and county level, and we do that here. I mean, from a regional, again, we serve the 4 counties of Northwest Iowa. We still have available sites. We have available existing buildings that are in inventory.
Yes, you do.
But one thing we did this year is we built a spec building.
I saw that, yeah.
So a 30,000 square foot speculative building, and we talk about, again, the partnerships and what that takes. We own the ground. We partnered together to put the building on ground we own. And here's the partnerships, Debbie, which I think we're proud of, and I think what it takes to get economic development done. Corn Belt Power, Iowa Lakes Electric Cooperative. They partnered with us with Iowa Area Development Group to get some Red Lake funding for that project.
Great partners.
The City of Spencer collaboratively came together along with it from a funding standpoint. Clay County Board of Supervisors through an RLF loan helped provide some funding there. And then Spencer Municipal Utilities, Steve Pick and his group also through Iowa Area Development Group and Red Lake were able to get some funding, all in total about $1.5 million project to be able to put inventory in our bucket so we can facilitate projects locally, whether that's a company growing local or as we get RFPs through the state and your organization, as you guys are looking for potential buildings, for a build out to facilitate projects, we have the spec building. So I just wanted to pick your brain on, maybe how you see site readiness, how communities should be ready for that, whether it's shovel ready ground or it's just blanket 100 acres. Versus having communities invest in spec buildings, and maybe what the importance of that is from a state perspective.
Well, you're certainly doing everything right, and it's really about that key word is being development ready, right? And we need to move at the speed of business. And how we started the certified site program, for example, 10 years ago, was because we lost a deal to Nebraska, which is painful to me, right? And we lost it because the farmer learned who the company was and decided the land was much more valuable. And listen, I'm a capitalist. You can sell your land for whatever. But when you tell someone you're selling it at a certain price and then you pull the rug out from us, we lost a tremendous amount of credibility. And I thought, that's never happening again. And then we also have site selectors that are saying our timeline is so tight on this project that we're only going to look at certified sites. So that's how all of that started. So it really is important, whether it's spec buildings or having buildings in inventory or having sites available. In fact, we're getting ready to do our webinar coming up, I think, at the end of the month with on our new certified sites, because we always tweak it every time we do a round with what the new rules are. And I think we have like 45 people that are considering, which is a record number.
Wow, for a certified site
certified sites. Nice. Plus, we're helping small communities now with some of the cost, right? We changed that a couple of years ago. So all of that, I think, is extremely important. In fact, I remember early on in my career when I was challenged by a legislature in a committee meeting, like, how am I going to save X, Y, and Z community? And the answer is I'm not, neither are you, because that's not how it works, right? Now, we can partner, but I went to this certain community and I said, exactly what is it you want me to sell? You have no land, you have no buildings. I tell me how I'm supposed to do this. I can help you get ready. We can partner with you, but it's really up to a community to determine what their growth plan is going to look like.
Yep.
And us to come in and partner.
No, for sure. And whether that's certified site, like you said, or just how you promote your available sites and buildings too. And we're fortunate across our 4 counties that there is shovel-ready ground in each one of our counties and our communities, so we are able to market at a pretty high level. And Trevor from our team does a good job of getting our lowest and stuff updated and partnering with IEDA Development Group and LoopNet and making sure that we are ready if we do get an RFP through the state or if we get a company inquiring on something that we could be key. Because don't you think that is as important as not only do you have the sites, but you have to have the information ready for companies that are looking for stuff.
Yeah, and if you're certified, I mean, we have all of our buildings and land on LOAS, which has been a great tool for IEDA over the years. We also have a separate certified sites that we actually put a little bit more marketing in ourselves to really show that readiness. But yeah, anything you can do to partner with us, and you do a great job. And then you guys have also done a great job in your 4 counties on housing. My gosh, I mean, looking at all your housing awards, and that's been very positive too, including some great downtown spaces that you have down here in Spencer.
Yep, absolutely, with some Catalyst help there,
love that
Catalyst
program.
grant help, and so it has been good. We were actually just talking as a team yesterday as we prepare for our annual event coming up at the end of the month on some of the housing stuff, and the city of Esterville just did a ribbon cutting on phase 2 of a multifamily housing project that brought a total of 64 units to the city of Esterville, which is awesome.
That is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
And they've done some really nice stuff downtown too, as well.
They have, some renovations, and then City of Spear Lake, Talon Development in the process of developing another 142 units of multifamily. Steve Booty's group, which is exciting.
Oh, Steve has done great stuff all over rural Iowa.
He has.
I mean, he's a really first-class developer.
He is. And
he
believes in it. And he's also doing a project here in Spencer, another 30-unit apartment complex, and then Kading Development.
Oh, Kading's another one.
Another one. And they're down in Storm Lake, and we cut a ribbon there to help celebrate some more housing down there. So from a housing standpoint, you're right. It's been good, and you never take anything for granted. And at the end of the day, we still need more of it. It's just unbelievable. It just never ends. Which we talk about. How do you support that growth local, Debbie? And because we do have a number of companies wanting to grow and expand here, and Joanne Fallon from our office runs our business retention and expansion visit program, which that's an important piece too, to make sure we understand what our companies need. I think last 2025, I think we did about 110 visits throughout 4 counties, and
that's impressive.
Yes, well,
thank you.
Brag here to Joanne. I mean, because we submit all of our information down to the state. So in 2024. We submitted 11% of all information down to IEDA for BRE, and this year I think it was 13% from our visits.
That's incredible.
So, but it's nice to be able to have her dedicated to that, and the things we continue to hear, and it's the stuff we hear across. You hear down in your office too, is the workforce pipeline, and we have companies wanting to continue to grow and expand. It's the rooftops and the housing, and it's childcare.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we continue to hear, and that's what you're hearing down in the state too. Would you agree for the most part?
Yeah, and of course, Governor Reynolds also, when all the ARPA dollars are flowing into the state, it was unique in Iowa because it was governor directed. It didn't go through the legislative process. But she was very strategic to say, we're going to invest in infrastructure that makes us stronger on the other side of this, right? And so almost $600 million was invested in childcare, and she invested, obviously, I even have Democrat friends who said she has done more for housing in the state than any other governor because she put a lot of money into housing, airport, transportation, broadband, right? All of those things that are critical. And so, and the legislature has been very generous on the housing front too. Right. In fact, I was just telling you earlier, I just had a call with Senator Feenstra on the way in, and that's the very thing we were talking about, because it looks like the president's going to really focus, and the HUD director, on housing and how do we bend this cost curve, right? Because we're kind of stalled. You really can't build anything stick built for under 400,000, and that just doesn't hit. So we need to look at some things differently. And I was suggesting some things, and he is so responsive about maybe some things like removing bod cap and stuff, so we can do more. And so we had a great conversation about that coming in.
No.
And we need more workforce housing capacity, right? There's no doubt. You'd look at Kading, for instance, and she was disappointed. I think she got 2 awards and kind of wanted 3. Right. And I said, listen, I appreciate that, but I've got to I got to have not only geographic diversity, but I also have the diversity of builders, right? Because we want to rise up more and more builders. But the issue is it needs to be a $50 million fund. I mean, if we can ever get to a budget year, and it's not going to be this year, going forward at 50 million, even if it's only for a period of 3 years, that's really where we need to be to kind of, because that's one of the best incentives we have for workforce housing. There's no doubt about it.
From a housing standpoint, working with local developers, it's the one program we talk a lot about, probably most common with every one of them. And I think the current you talk 50 million, I think the current allocation is still 35.
Correct.
And then if you look at as far as the number of applications that you guys go through the state, I mean, I think there's a 30 to 35% application success rate. So it's very, very competitive.
It is. And not every applicant that comes to us is ready, but we could definitely, there's a lot more ready than we can fund. And I even suggested to the legislators, if you really want to do that and you had to choose, and I know I'm director of the entire state, but I've been on record saying this, the greatest need really is in rural Iowa. And the other thing what I would love to see in that program is to do like a $5 million carve out to actually do housing rehab and flipping homes. Because what people don't realize, workforce in a rural community, all you have to do is 2 homes. And in urban, it's 4. But the big multi things come in and take up most of the capacity. And they're serving a greater need because of the size. That, if you had a carve out to say, and that's a perfect program for like people like Habitat or small contractors, that's all they want to do. And I think that's how you begin to find single family home less than that 400,000 is by doing that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And, coming out of the disaster here, across our region and Spencer specifically, the local economic development group, Spencer Economic Development, bought some ground that was impacted, some housing that was impacted by the flood. It was 28 units of multifamily. I was within the confines of the community, so all the infrastructure is there. So went in, bought it. The plan is to demo that, clear that out this spring, and then put out RFP for developers to come in and do some redevelopment on that site, which is exciting, just to kind of spruce up. You talk about the internal neighborhoods and give them vibrancy too. I think it's just equally as important as maybe new development too. So
because you think of all the money between our Main Street program and Catalyst that we're spending in our downtowns, which are great. But in many communities, not the case here, but in many communities, you drive one street off of Main Street or the square and it's scary, right? Where it's 90% rental, a lot of slumlords, and we do need to reclaim those and really start turning that around. If you could make a case like they're doing in the Waterloo neighborhood with Habitat, where their goal is to have 60% home ownership and 40% rental in these neighborhoods, that begins to change everything, right? It brings that stability that a community is looking for. And so those are some of the initiatives. If we could do a special carve out with workforce, the tool is there. We just don't have the capacity.
No, agree. So we'll transition really quickly to childcare, because that is equally as important and is something that we're actively engaged in up here. The city of Spencer received an Empower Rural Iowa grant last year to help subsidize, I think it was a $20,000 grant through the state.
For a study.
Contract with First Children's Finance, and we're working through that process. On the tail end of some financial modeling right now for the city of Spencer. City of Lake Park can apply for the Empower Rural Iowa grant this year too, and we're funded for a daycare study too, so they'll be undergoing that. City of Storm Lake 2 years ago did the same thing with First Children's Finance. So we got all of our communities doing this. We're all addressing it. We all see the need, but it's still a challenge. And because again, we talk about the workforce pipeline. From what we see and the message that we tell people is, if we don't have adequate daycare at a local level, it may be keeping people who are good employees or the good quality workforce from working to actually staying home. So your thoughts maybe on childcare and kind of the things, because the state's doing a lot of good things to help address it. But.
Yeah, and so when the governor put together the child care task force, in addition to all the infrastructure money we gave back with the ARPA dollars, it really was about how do you change systems to begin to bend that cost curve. And it was everything from like shared services within the daycares to do these studies, the financial modeling, to actually figure out, because it is not a one size fits all, right? And to even, change the ratio of childcare workers to children. So it was a very comprehensive plan. That group is still meeting on a regular basis, and So we also know that there continues to be a need for that. The other thing was, obviously working to try to bring up the wages of the child care workers, and it really is a comprehensive
Right.
system. We're making a dent. We're still not there, and a lot of them are still being built out too. So you haven't really seen, I mean, you still see some capacity strains in areas, but it really does take a collaboration to do it. And even the stuff about, I thought one of the best programs we did was the incentives, that we should look at redoing that again. I think if there was one model, it's really empowering the employers to participate, right, through like slot buying and some of those kind of things. And that's been a real recruiting tools for companies. I know like JBS has used it to where, when, and I assume they're still doing it, that not only do they give to their people first, some people do it at a discount, but it really does show that. And then, but it helps that break even point for that daycare if they know they're going to have that amount of money coming in, regardless if those slots are filled or not.
Right. Yep, for sure. And there's ways for local municipalities too to help and assist in daycare, whether it's helping cover the operations to do all the things you're talking about, because you need to be a little bit of revenue producing to be able to pay your staff to keep good key staff there to lead those daycare centers as well.
Well, and the other thing that we talked about, even little things like a child care worker may have children too, and if they can bring their children in during the place where they're employed, that's a win-win for everyone, really, at no charge. That helps too. So I think it's really looking at it in a really strategic way, and very holistic and comprehensive. And it just kind of takes all of the above to make these things work, to be very candid.
Right. Well, maybe the best way to put it for the listeners is we talk about economic development, being a marathon and not a sprint. I mean,
boy, that's
true.
We
would love to solve all these problems as we sit here in this chair and talk about them, but it takes years in the making, whether it's housing, it's childcare, or workforce pipeline development. I mean, it just takes a long stretch. Would you agree?
The good thing is you're making progress.
We
are.
You're
doing all the right things.
Every day.
And our talent attraction program has been very successful, and nothing else. It's really raising the profile of people that there is so much happening here, and you can actually live bigger in Iowa, and that's documented, right? With the cost of living, and even though childcare is high and homes are high, it's still a lot more affordable than other places in the country, which is why for 2 years in a row that, our greatest area of recruiting into Iowa migration is Southern California.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
not surprising.
I was going to say,
not
you say that, but it's not so surprising, right?
No, and then Hawaii is like in the top 5.
Okay,
so,
well, that's even more crazy.
Yeah, that's a little perplexing, other than the cost of living.
Cost of living would be for sure.
But there is some stuff going on there with Mason City has been very successful in that whole area about attracting those workers in. But,
that's cool. And, kind of closing out here on workforce, I mean, one thing we've been really engaged with, and I think in economic development, that collaborative piece and the partnership with our schools now is becoming more and more vital to be able to get into our schools, having them see firsthand what those opportunities are for employment here in our neck of the woods, to be able to drive that pipeline, build a culture to make sure that we're building the workforce pipeline from inside, as opposed to going and recruiting and coming back in. So
and I was a leader on youth apprenticeship programs, which high school apprenticeship programs, which I think is amazing. The governor used to always tell the story about a young worker, high school student that was working at Vermeer and started driving a brand new Ford truck, and all of a sudden everybody thought that was the coolest thing ever while he's still in high school. And now I think last I heard, he's still full time now with Vermeer excelling.
That's awesome.
Because not everybody's going to go to college, right? No. And we don't need that. We need skills. And we just need to make sure that whatever they're going to do, that they have the training. And the sooner we can introduce that, the better it is for everyone.
No, I agree. So one thing we're going to actually uplift here in April of this year is the Build My Future event, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Des Moines has one. We've had one across the state of Iowa. I know Sioux City has done one similar to that, where we've met with all of our schools across the corridor region. They're all going to be engaged with us to bring their students to this event. We're going to hold it at the Clay County Regional Event Center. I think on April 23 is the date, Debbie. And I think our goal is to have about 50 vendors be a part of that, to do all hands-on learning experience. So it's not going to be a career fair. It's not going to be a booth to booth, like talking to people. Every vendor will have a hands-on experience for these kids to participate in hopes of giving them an opportunity to see firsthand what these companies have.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So we'll get you
Well,
more details on
congratulations.
that.
I would love to see that. We'd
Well,
love to
don't
get
congratulate us yet. We haven't quite got that
Oh,
thing
you'll
over the
do
finish line. It's
If
a
you
big
say it,
undertaking.
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but we're excited about that and
Yeah.
kind of see how that goes as far as the collaborative piece.
Well, it's also why, it's important that the governor wants every child to have some kind of work-based learning program.
Yeah.
I mean, experience while they're in high school before they graduate.
Yeah.
Because really, who knew? I mean, my son knew he's going to be an architect since his first Lego set. Most kids do not know that, right?
Right.
My daughter, on the other hand, went to Iowa State for a year and apparently didn't spend much time in the classroom. Aha! And then she had an opportunity to do mission and did medical. And next thing I know, she's a nurse, but she was never exposed to that.
Yeah.
So how are we expecting our 18-year-old kids or 17-year-old kids to know what they want to do with the rest of their life? Right?
I agree.
They need to experience it. The more that you can provide real opportunity in these hands-on experiences, the better off it's going to be for everyone.
Yeah. I remember graduating from high school a long time ago, and the perception at that time was everybody was led to a 4-year college. Like if you didn't go to 4-year, like it's almost like you were failing a little bit in your quest to a career.
Yes.
Where now I think the messaging has been so good that we're really pushing kids, whether it's they don't go to the 4-year institution. The community college level is awesome just to get that 2 degree, or let's go right into the workforce.
Certification of something, micro-credentialing or something.
Absolutely.
It doesn't even have to be a 2-year degree.
Yep. And so that mindset has changed a lot, which I think is good and hopefully
for both parents and students. And I agree with you because it's really what's needed.
Yep. Agree.
Yeah. And particularly in the world of AI, those kind of jobs are going to become more and more important.
Right. Yeah. And AI is a whole nother topic. We don't have enough time for it today, but I know we talk about that in economic development, what that's going to
But industry, manufacturing's been using it for years, right? So,
right. And we're using it within our organization
we
too,
absolutely
with things, and it does help us become more efficient, and it doesn't take what we're doing away, but it just makes us more efficient what we're doing. We need the people. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, I know you kind of mentioned it. You're going to be. This is 2026 is kind of your last year, which is crazy to think about it. And it's also a year to help celebrate all the great things we've done across the state under your leadership. So I want to say thank you. But maybe some final takeaways, maybe for our listeners and for our team, as you kind of see this transition of 2026, and more importantly, maybe what you see the horizon for the state and economic development going forward.
Well, 25 was tough because of ag. We need to continue to look at ways to diversify our economy because we are so dependent on ag, and that's great until you have years like 23 and 24, right? And into 25. But I'm very bullish on this year, what I'm seeing in the pipeline. In fact, we just rolled out our new incentive program. In February, you're going to see some really big deals come in. All local companies expanding, which again is over 80% of our portfolio. So we know the incentive is now right. But I think because of what we're seeing, the reshoring, and even though tariffs has been painful, I can say for a lot of people, resetting the table is not a wrong thing to do. And it will result in more investment in America. And what we need to do now is make sure that Iowa is on the forefront of that. And I think that this year you're going to see us be a little bolder on some of our marketing. So, now that we have a competitive tax environment, thanks to Governor Reynolds and the legislature, and now we have a new incentive program that has really being embraced very well with companies that are using it now for the first time. It's just now a matter of telling our story. So we need to join voices like yours and the great marketing you're doing with ours and start telling Iowa's story. So we can become top of mind. And I think that's what you're going to really, really see us focus on this next year. Even more so, we're doing some new trade shows. We're looking at aviation defense as a new micro cluster, if you will. Pharmaceuticals, a big play for us. We're getting ready to do a major RFP at the end of the month, award to work with a company to give us some strategic talking points around that, because the bioeconomy, and I think biofuels is going to be huge this year. So there's some really great things happening. I think we're gonna run to the finish line. Not gonna rest. In fact, if you could see my schedule, it's like insane. So God willing, I get the grace and mercies every day to run to that finish line. But that's the plan. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you traveling the state too. I mean, I know your schedule is busy. It's hard to get you coordinated, but I see you do such a good job on social media, you and your team too, and tracking all the great things going
going across. And we're excited to show you the project down in Alta today
I can't wait.
with Platinum Crush. And we talk about the 80% of community growth coming from within. This will be a prime example of that 20% window where you bring in a project of about 360 million and 60 brand new jobs. And they just finished up their second year of harvest for the soybean crushing plant this fall. And so their leadership is outstanding. So we look forward to showcasing that to you today.
Well, thanks for what you do
and
being such great partners with us.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So no, thank you. And Ann and your team and Amber, it's great to work with Amber on the PDI board too. And so we have a great connection, and that's intentional both on your end and ours. And so we need to make sure that we continue that moving forward. So any last takeaways that you'd like to leave us with? But I already asked you that once, but if there's something on the tip of your tongue, you're like, Kurt, I really wish I would have mentioned that, and here's your opportunity.
I think we covered most of it.
I think we did.
I will just say, though, this has been an honor of my life to serve Iowans in this role.
Yeah, well, good. We appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to miss you. So,
Thanks.
Well, I get a whole year. So
you got a year.
I got a whole year that we'll take advantage of it. But,
absolutely.
So, no, thank you, Debbie, and thanks for your team coming up here today. And that'll wrap up this episode of Corridor Conversations. I want to thank Debbie and her team for stopping up today. Medlar Coffee as our sponsor. A great
chai
coffee today, right? It really led us right through our event today. And also the studio, Spencer Collab space, great space to be. And I always tell people we're up on the third floor of a downtown building. We won't be able to see because we don't have windows up here, but it's kind of a cool space. So
cozy.
Those looking for just if you're traveling through Spencer and need a spot just to set up shop for a little bit, check out Spencer Collab. It's a great venue for people to come check out. So with that, Kurt Strauth, President and CEO of the Iowa Lakes Corridor Economic Development Corporation, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.